Here are the 8 richest black families in Dallas, and how they built their wealth is unbelievable. We're talking about a man who built a billion-dollar company without taking a single loan, a guy who was rejected by McDonald's but went on to build a franchise empire, and a music legend whose vintage, Lincoln, has a chandelier inside it. Let's get into it. Number 8. The Badu Dynasty. Let's kick this off with the coolest, most unapologetically eccentric fortune in all of Dallas. Because Erykah Badu doesn't just live in Dallas, she basically turned an entire corner of it into her own personal universe. And here's the detail that tells you everything about her. She rolls around the city in a baby blue 1964 Lincoln Continental convertible, with a fully functional chandelier hanging inside it. A chandelier. In a car. If that's not a flex, I don't know what is. But here's what makes her a genuine wealth story, and not just a quirky celebrity. Erykah Badu owns her stuff. While most artists hand over their music to a major label and pray for scraps, Badu kept structural control of her master recordings and her likeness rights. That's the whole game right there. When you own your masters, every stream, every license, every throwback placement pays you, not some corporation. Stack that on top of her global touring catalog and her Badu World Market online store, and you've got a creative empire worth somewhere between $15 and $25 million that nobody can take from her. The physical heart of it all is a historic 5,000-square-foot compound near White Rock Lake in East Dallas, which she snapped up back in 1997, right after her debut album dropped. The place has neon yellow window trim and invisible speakers piping music across the whole property. Then she bought the house next door and turned it into something called the Badudio, a wild creative lab packed with vintage keyboards, massive tuning forks, and sound therapy wellness tech. The woman built herself a sonic playground. And here's the part that'll make you love her. During brutal Dallas summer heat waves, the Badu family literally hands out ice to cyclists, runners, and walkers along the White Rock Lake trails. A multi-millionaire neo-soul icon, passing out ice to sweaty joggers. She stayed in Dallas on purpose instead of running off to LA or New York, and she turned her own neighborhood into a cultural landmark. And the whole thing runs as a tight family operation. Her mother serves as an advisor, her sister Coco handles the day-to-day business as her personal assistant, and her kids are woven right into the artistic world, including her eldest son, Seven Benjamin, co-parented with Andre, 3000. Both of her children's fathers stay actively involved in the family's creative life, which, for a celebrity household, is its own kind of quiet flex. Badu got rich by owning her art, but our next legend got rich on the field, then traded touchdowns for real estate. Number 7. The Smith Dynasty. If you know anything about the Dallas Cowboys, you know this name. Emmitt Smith, the NFL Hall of Famer, the all-time leading rusher, the man with 3 Super Bowl rings from that legendary 1990s Cowboys dynasty. But here's the thing that actually matters for this list. Plenty of athletes win rings. Almost none of them turn that fame into a $50 million business empire that keeps growing decades after they hang up the cleats. Emmitt did. The move was simple but brilliant. Instead of just collecting endorsement checks until they dried up, Smith built Emmitt Smith Enterprises, a diversified holding company plugged straight into commercial real estate, urban construction, and licensing. And his smartest play was partnering up with major regional developers, which let him convert all that athletic money into actual equity-yielding real estate. He stopped being a guy who gets paid and became a guy who owns the thing other people pay for. That's the entire difference between being rich for a decade and being wealthy for generations. Now let's get into the spicy stuff, because this family has had some very public drama. Emmitt was married for 20 years to Pat Southall, and Pat is a story all by herself, a former Miss Virginia USA and, fun fact, the ex-wife of comedian Martin Lawrence. The couple even had their own reality show, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where Pat got real about the challenges of living in the shadow of a famous husband. Then, in 2020, after 2 decades together, the two announced they were separating. But here's what's classy about it. They've kept it amicable and stayed locked in as co-parents to their blended family, which includes their son E.J. Smith, a talented running back who played at Stanford before transferring to Texas A&M. The football bloodline lives on. And Pat actually turned the whole experience into a second act of her own, earning a ministerial license through the Potter's House and channeling her reflections into a personal development book called Second Chances. When your divorce becomes the fuel for a published book and a ministry, you've officially flipped the script on pain. And the family hasn't gone quiet on giving back either. Through the Pat and Emmett Smith charities, they've poured millions into educational scholarships and youth programs all over North Texas. The rings were the beginning. The real estate and the legacy are the lasting part. But while Emmett turned a football career into a property portfolio, watch how our next baller did something even smarter. Speaking of putting your money where it quietly works for you instead of where it shows off, that's what pulled someone on our team to the Pulse R8 Smart Ring. It reads your heart rate, your sleep, and your workouts right from your finger. A week on a charge, 100 days with the case, and it's fully waterproof. The surprise was the price, under $40, a fraction of the big-name rings, because it comes direct instead of through the retailers that mark everything up. If you're watching on your TV, pause and scan the QR code on screen with your phone camera, or tap the first link in the description. Because our next baller did something even smarter with his money than buy real estate. Number 6. The Finley Dynasty. Here's a brutal stat that haunts professional sports. A shocking number of athletes who earn fortunes end up broke within a few years of retiring. Now meet Michael Finley, the man who looked at that curse and said, "Not me. Not even close." Finley was an NBA All-Star and a champion who earned over $138 million in salary across a 15-season career. That's already elite, but the way he handled it after basketball is the masterclass. Instead of blowing it or sitting on it, he pivoted hard into venture capital, launching his own firm and actively investing in early-stage tech startups, film productions, and commercial real estate. Today he's worth around $65 million, and crucially, that number is built to grow, not shrink. And here's the cherry on top. Finley didn't just leave the game, he climbed into the front office. He now serves as the interim general manager and vice president of player personnel for the Dallas Mavericks. Think about that arc. He went from a player executing the plays to an executive deciding which players get the contracts. That's real institutional power in a multi-billion-dollar franchise. And I want to show you exactly how disciplined this man is, because there's a detail in his story that I love. Back in 2014, Finley sold a 5,400 square foot custom estate down in San Antonio, originally listed at $1.5 million, and let it go for about $1.1 million rather than cling to the price tag, because moving the asset mattered more to him than winning the negotiation. Around that same time, he held a big public estate sale at his Dallas home, and among the things he sold off were his personal arcade games, including an old NBA Showtime machine. Picture that. An NBA champ clearing out his game room to realign his money towards serious corporate investments. He literally sold his toys to feed his portfolio. That's the mindset that separates the wealthy from the temporarily rich. He keeps a gated estate in the affluent suburb of Plano, plus holdings in California, and he credits a lot of his grounded executive focus to his wife Rebecca, a Fort Worth native who helps run the family's charitable foundation. While he was drafted by Phoenix, it was his prime years with the Mavericks that rooted this whole dynasty in North Texas. Finley beat the athlete curse with cold discipline. Our next man took the loudest personality in all of sports and turned it into pure currency. Number 5. The Sanders Dynasty. Some athletes have a brand. Deion Sanders is a brand. Coach Prime might be the single most magnetic personality in all of sports, and he turned that personality into a $60 million fortune, which is honestly the most Deion thing imaginable. Let's appreciate the resume for a second because it's genuinely absurd. This is a man who played at the highest level in 2 different professional sports, the NFL and Major League Baseball, at the same time. Then he stacked dual sport money on top of lucrative media contracts, major endorsement deals with the likes of Nike and Under Armour, and now a high-profile Division I coaching salary. And the genius running through all of it is his approach to branding. Deion figured out early that his own name and swagger were an asset class, something he could leverage to demand equity and performance bonuses instead of just a flat paycheck. He doesn't sell a service, he sells Prime. The Sanders lifestyle is exactly as loud as you'd expect. multi-acre estates out in Prosper, sprawling custom ranches, private jets, designer everything, and a fleet of customized utility trucks. But here's the modern twist: none of it stays private. Every big property, every truck, every win gets folded into the family's massive social media presence. The flex is part of the business model. The visibility literally generates value. And this is truly a family enterprise. His sons, Shadur and Shiloh, and his daughter, Shalomi, have all built national athletic profiles of their own, locking in serious name, image, and likeness. Money managed through the family's media machine. Dion isn't just building his own wealth, he's building a multi-generational sports dynasty in real time, teaching his kids to monetize their names from day one. It hasn't all been smooth, though. In 2023, the family got a genuine scare when Dion was hospitalized with life-threatening blood clots in his legs, requiring vascular surgery. It was serious, it made national news, and it was a stark reminder that no amount of money makes you invincible. But prime being prime, he recovered and walked right back onto the sideline. His peak playing days with the Cowboys made him a Dallas icon, and even with all the travel his coaching career demands, the family keeps pumping money into North Texas, funding youth sports networks and his own prime elite developmental programs. But while this is impressive, it's not as crazy as our next family who monetized something far more powerful. Number 4. The Jakes Dynasty. Quick question: what's the most valuable thing a person can build? Money? A company? Try influence over the hearts of tens of thousands of people. That's the foundation the Jakes family fortune is built on, and it's worth somewhere between $70 and $100 million. It all starts with Bishop T.D. Jakes, founder of the Potter's House in Dallas, a non-denominational megachurch with over 30,000 members. But calling him just a pastor wildly undersells the operation. Through TDJ Enterprises, Jakes runs a full corporate and media empire spanning book publishing, film production, and global TV syndication. The man turned the pulpit into a multimedia conglomerate. And here's where it gets genuinely impressive from a black wealth standpoint. The family expanded into TD Jakes Real Estate Ventures, an institutional developer specifically focused on building affordable housing and mixed-income communities. So he's not just preaching about uplift, he's pouring concrete for it. On top of that, through his Good Soil Forum, Jakes has deployed over $500,000 directly into local Black-owned businesses, acting like a venture capitalist for his own community. That's faith translated into capital, aimed exactly where it's needed. The lifestyle matches the empire. The family's previous home was a jaw-dropping 10,681 square foot waterfront estate on White Rock Lake, sitting on nearly 2 acres with 5 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a professional gym, a sauna, a koi pond, and a 4-car garage, which they listed for $5.75 million when they moved to Fort Worth. They travel by private jet to manage a global speaking and business schedule, often rolling up to regional terminals with motorcades and security details in tow. But here's the smartest move of all, and it's the one most rich families fumble: succession. Under the guidance of matriarch Sarita Jakes, the family has deliberately handed the torch to the next generation. Their daughters, Sarah Jakes Roberts and Cora Jakes Coleman, have each built their own independent multi-million-dollar media and publishing platforms. That means when the founders step back, the empire doesn't crumble. It compounds. They built the machine to outlive them. The Jakes family turned belief into a dynasty. Our next man turned a single football contract into a full-blown investment portfolio. Number 3. The Prescott Dynasty. When you're the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, you're not just an athlete. You're practically the mayor of Texas on Sundays. And Dak Prescott cashed that status in for one of the biggest paydays in sports history, a record-setting $240 million contract extension. But here's the part that puts him on this list. Because plenty of guys sign huge deals, Dak treated his as seed money. Instead of just banking the salary, Prescott went on an ownership spree. He grabbed a direct 20% co-ownership stake in 4 Walk-On's Sports Bistro locations across Dallas, Fort Worth, and Waco. He dropped a $12.5 million anchor investment into Oxafit, an AI-powered physical therapy company, which is a genuinely forward-thinking bet on sports tech. and he holds equity in Glow Beverages and the truck accessories platform Real Truck. See the pattern? He's not collecting paychecks, he's collecting equity, the stuff that keeps paying long after his throwing arm retires. Now let's talk about the house, because this story is hilarious. The centerpiece of his real estate is a custom mega mansion compound going up in Prosper. And to clear the land, in early 2026, Prescott demolished his existing Prosper home, and he filmed the entire demolition alongside the local YouTube legends Dude Perfect. Imagine being so wealthy that knocking down your own mansion becomes content. The new compound is being built like a fortress too, with serious security because Dak has been openly furious about drones and media trying to peek over his walls. His personal life took a turn in early 2026 as well, when he and his fiancée called off their engagement, even scrapping a planned wedding in Italy. But to their credit, the two have set up an amicable joint custody arrangement to raise their daughters, Aurora and MJ Rose, and they still come together for family milestones. Drama handled like grown-ups. Everything about his business is tailored to Texas, aligning his investments with the local consumer base to plant deep, lasting economic roots. Prescott turned a contract into a portfolio. Our next man didn't have a famous arm or a famous voice. He had a dream, a rejection letter, and $180,000. Number 2. The Parrish Dynasty. Here's a story that should be taught in business schools. A man applies to McDonald's to become a franchise owner. McDonald's says no. Most people walk away right there. Roland Parrish did the exact opposite, and today his family is worth between $120 and $150 million off the back of those golden arches. After that rejection, Parrish didn't sulk. He gritted his teeth and completed a brutal 2-year, completely unpaid training program, all while still working his regular corporate job to pay the bills. 2 years, no pay, just betting on himself. And then, in a detail you genuinely could not script better, he opened his very first McDonald's location on Juneteenth in 1989, using $180,000 of his own personal savings. A black entrepreneur launching his empire on the day celebrating Black freedom. You can't make that up. From that single store, Parrish built something staggering. His company, Parrish Restaurants, now owns and operates somewhere between 25 and 29 McDonald's franchises across Dallas-Fort Worth. We're talking $116 million in revenue in a single year, with projections climbing toward $125 million. That scale makes his firm the second-largest Black-owned McDonald's franchise group in the entire United States, from a rejection letter to a fast food empire. But here's why the Parrish family truly belongs near the top of this list. They don't just stack money, they aim it like a weapon at the right targets. They're key anchor investors in the Reimagine Redbird project, a massive commercial development that brought a Marriott hotel, corporate offices, and medical facilities into South Dallas, a part of the city long starved of that kind of investment. That's private, Black-owned capital driving real urban renewal. They've also given over $4 million to higher education, funding buildings named after Roland at both Purdue and Fisk University. And they even funded a medical clinic in Uganda that serves 6,000 orphans a year. The city literally named a park in East Oak Cliff the Roland G. Parrish Park. And the next generation is locked in. His daughter Jade, known around Dallas as Lady Jade, is an SMU-MBA, a media personality, and a real estate investor with her own property portfolio, while serving as VP of the family foundation. The empire has heirs. Parrish built a Fortune 1 restaurant at a time. Our number 1 built a billion-dollar one by writing code in a home health office, and he did it without taking a single dollar from anyone. Number 1. The Olajide Dynasty. We finish with the only billionaire on this list, and his story might be the most inspiring of them all, because John Olajide didn't inherit this. He didn't get drafted into it or sign a contract for it. He wrote it, line by line, in computer code. Olajide was born and raised in Ajagunle, one of the poorest, most crowded areas of Lagos, Nigeria. In the early 2000s, he immigrated to North Texas with his parents, who worked as distributors for Unilever. As a student at the University of Texas at Dallas, he paid his way through school by working as an IT support technician for a small home health agency, which happened to be owned by his aunt. And while he was in there fixing computers, he noticed something nobody else had cracked. The entire home healthcare industry was running on ancient, broken technology. So he sat down and wrote the software to fix it himself. That software became RICHEST, a company he founded in 2007. Today, it serves over 3 million patients and acts as the technological backbone for thousands of healthcare providers. And here's the line that makes this the perfect number one. Olajide built RICHEST into a unicorn, a company valued at over $1 billion, without taking a single dollar of venture capital funding. Let that sink in. While every tech founder out there is giving away chunks of their company to investors, Olajide kept all of it. No dilution, total control, the entire fortune staying inside the family. That is the purest form of ownership there is. And he didn't stop. He expanded into Cavista Holdings, a global investment conglomerate with positions in agriculture, fintech, energy, and luxury hospitality, stretching from Texas all the way to West Africa. But what cements his legacy is how plugged in he is to Dallas itself. In 2020, John Olajide became the youngest ever board chair of the Dallas Regional Chamber, steering the entire North Texas business community through the chaos of the pandemic. He's co-chairing a $750 million capital campaign at UTD, the same school he worked his way through, and the university named an engineering atrium after his company in his honor. Through his work with the Corporate Council on Africa, he's literally turning Dallas into a hub for international trade. And that's the thread tying all 8 of these families together. From Badu owning her masters, to Parrish anchoring South Dallas, to Olajide refusing to give away a single share, every one of them stopped chasing paychecks and started owning the assets, the equity, and the future itself. And those were the 8 richest Black families in Dallas. Notice the real pattern here? Not one of these dynasties got comfortable just being high earners. They made the leap from getting paid to owning the thing. Real estate, equity, franchises, technology, the assets that compound and pass down for generations. That's how you turn a career into a legacy. So I'm curious, which of these families impressed you the most? The chandelier-driving music icon? The McDonald's king who started on Juneteenth? Or the immigrant who bootstrapped a billion-dollar company? Drop it in the comments, smash that like button if this opened your eyes, and subscribe to Black Status because we tell stories like this every single week.